Hey there, everybody. How's it going? This is Jackie Van Ham. Welcome to this week's episode of On the Throttle with Jackie and Josh. This is our super special Things We Are Thankful For Holiday Thanksgiving edition. We wanted to go ahead, open up the camera today, and talk to you about some awesome things that were going on in 2021 for each of us. A little bit of news. Josh has a little bit of talk about some new machines and new motorcycles and things going on in power sports. And I have just a great big huge whole bunch of pictures of some rad stuff that happened this year that I am super grateful for. And that's the theme for today's show is it is the season of thanks. So what are the things that you're thankful for, Josh?
I am super thankful that I get to sit here with you. How was that? Was that good? Is so
I
that
think technically you have to be.
yes, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. So nonetheless, I did want to say something about news, and this is something that I'm thankful for. We'll get into the stuff that I'm actually thankful for later. But really, this is something that I'm really kind of thankful for, and I think you will be too. Volcon announced that they are opening up for US dealership networks. And so currently they're shipping stuff out. This is the Volcon Grunt that you see here. Now, this is a great little like dirt bike-ish that uses ATV tires. Now, I'm going to get into something else on this in a second, but they have had over 200 inquiries into asking, or they've had 200 inquiries asking them, hey, we'd love to be a dealer of yours. And this is just in the US. So then I guess they've had more than 50 inquiries internationally in terms of people wanting to sell this rad little bike. Now, what is so cool about this? The first part about it is it's electric. So this is fully electric. This thing is going to go anywhere. One of the great things about electrics is, I mean, maintenance is almost nothing. On top of that, you just plug it in and you just go. The biggest part about it in an application like this, where you see this person hauling half a hay bale on the back, is you have instant full torque. So the moment you turn the throttle just a little bit, you've got all the torque that you want. And so that is one of the really cool things about this. Now, what this harkens back to me for is this reminds me, because it has ATV tires on it, in the early, actually about mid 80s, we're old enough to remember this, Jackie, is Honda and Yamaha both
You are.
did.
You are, buddy. You're old enough.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's, yes. I'm old enough to remember the fuel that we put in when it was still dinosaurs. Is nonetheless is Honda and Yamaha both had literally small dirt bikes with four-wheeler tires here. On top, you've got the Honda Fat Cat. On the bottom, Yamaha had the big wheel. Now, the Fat Cat Yamaha had or Honda had available with a 200cc. Yamaha went all in and did 80, 200, and a 350cc version of this thing. They weren't hot sellers, but the people that bought them love them because you've got these ginormous big flotation tires on them. They will go anywhere. They will do anything. They are absolutely unstoppable. They've got a low seat height. They're very unintimidating. They're actually pretty inexpensive to make too. So one of the few things that I jokingly always say that Jackie and I agree about is that the electric side and the electrification of stuff is very cool. So this Volcon company having this bike, they've got a Runt coming out soon that's electric also. It's a little bit smaller. So they've got the Grunt and then the Runt. They just removed the G to make it smaller, I guess. Those are the two big electrics. They've got this, I mean, already have a ton of dealerships that are wanting to get on board with this. To me, I see this as a huge win. What are your thoughts on this, Jackie?
Well, I agree with you. I've seen these Volcons live and in person. They are based out of Texas, if I remember correctly,
Yep.
which is another kind of neat, cool thing. I've seen these live, and these are super cool. I agree with you. I love the retro styling of them. I love that Fat Cat and that Honda and Yamaha that you showed. Those were excellent. In my mind, I thought you were going to say TW200, because that's kind of what it reminds me of with the big
Yeah.
oversized tires. But Either way, regardless, I think it is very cool. I think it's a great looking product. It's super sharp. And you're right, by having 200 people willing to step up and buy in and put in these inquiries to become dealer network, that's a really, really good sign that there is a lot of enthusiasm, that people are
Yes.
interested, and that this product they think is going to really sell. And I think it absolutely will also. I don't remember the price tag for these off the top of my head, but I can definitely tell you that in the past 12 months, it feels like e-bikes of this type, of this kind of like on-road, off-road,
Yep.
pit bikey looking vibe, these types of e-bike, these vehicles have gone bonanza. They've just been selling like hotcakes. So it doesn't
Yes.
shock me at all for people in the United States here wanting to step up and get into that dealership network. And again, it's an American-based company, so that's kind of a neat, cool thing. But bravo for bringing that up. That's really cool, really neat.
Yeah.
I still have not had the chance to ride one of these. I was at an event this past summer, and they had a display, and you could, I don't want to say test ride because they weren't actually really offering test rides. It was on like a, well, what would be a dyno if it was an internal combustion
Okay.
bike. It was basically like on a
Yep.
treadmill, and you could rev it, which it's electric, so it doesn't really make a lot of noise. So I'm kind of questioning the logics of that whole setup. But anyway, the point of it is, it was
Yeah.
cool. I saw it. I would be totally down to ride it. And I think it's a really cool, neat thing. So thank you so much for bringing that up. So a little bit of news that's going on during this week of thanks. I know, Josh. What else did you have to be thankful for this week,
So
or
I was
for
about to say
2021 in general? Actually,
for really the only other thing that I wanted to add to that is them getting that dealership network. The biggest thing is, first off, electrics have like 3 moving parts, so parts aren't going to go as bad. But having a dealership you can walk down to and be like, I need this fixed now, is a huge thing. That being said, yeah. So what am I thankful for this year? There's 2 main things that I have been thankful for in terms of motorcycling. There's a ton. I mean, family, health, all this other stuff. Yes, the normal stuff, definitely thankful for. But in terms of motorcycling, the first thing that I am thankful for, and we'll get the picture up here in a second, is terribly maintained gravel roads. That is one of the highlights for me. Just the worse this road is maintained, the more I'm thankful for it. The second thing is, in this next photo here, is just basically going to be the motorcycling community in general. So this year, I mean, in this photo, you'll see here, like there's 2 friends that I made this year at the Supermoto track. That Shane's the one with his knee down on the KTM. Rachel's the one on the, she's running a 110 Kawasaki on the Supermoto track. In the upper corner up there, that is a foundation I do some photographs for. It's the Mom Foundation. It is a wonderful, wonderful charity ride that's done every year. The people involved with this, I mean, it's different styling of motorcycling than what I typically do, but the people are absolutely amazing. On top of that, there's more friends that I've made this year. Buddy of mine, Guy, is in the picture, kind of in the on the right there. He also really loves terrible roads. Road, I mean, we like to call them roads that eventually work their way to goat trails. And I mean, just this group of people that we may not have anything in common outside, but as soon as you put a bike underneath us, we are all one big giant family. And that's one of the things that I absolutely love about it. It is one of the things that is uniting in a time right now when there's so many divisive things. I mean, right now, the most divisive thing that we have is it orange, is it yellow, or is it green when we're out on the trail? That's the big thing. And we all razz each other about it, and that's it. Everyone's there to help each other. I had a flat tire this year, and you know how those flat tires go. You make 4 new friends when you get a flat tire. So
absolutely. One person
that
that's actually helping you, and 3 people to stand around and tell you how you're doing it wrong.
correct. So that was I mean, to me, that is what I am just overall thankful for, is the community of motorcycling, and how, I mean, just power sports in general, and how everyone pulls together for stuff, and how we do all have that common ground. And like I said, really terribly maintained dirt roads. Those road crews, don't get out there. Stay home, spend the time with your families, and that way I've got crappy roads to ride. What are some of the things that this year were cool that you're thankful for? I mean, I know you had a wonderful and amazing year. This year,
I'm
I
not
mean,
gonna, yeah. I'm not gonna
yeah.
lie,
So
Josh, man.
go into those.
I had a super rock and roll 2021. I am very, very blessed and very, very grateful. 2020 was really rough for myself and millions and millions and millions of other people, but it seemed like right from the jump, events were starting to come back. And you're right. I love motorcycling because bikes are cool, but what's even cooler are the people that are involved in motorcycling. That's my favorite thing about motorcycling, hands down. So, without further ado, because I've got a whole huge slideshow, so let's jump right into it. The first thing I'm grateful for that I didn't know I needed to be grateful for, two-stroke three-wheel racing. Oh my goodness. Earlier in the spring, I had the chance to announce a handful of races here in the middle part of America, at dirt track racing in particular. And it's the first time I've ever seen three-wheel racing live ever. And then the fact that these were two-stroke machines on top of it just totally blew my mind. And it was excellent, Josh. I don't know if you've ever seen three-wheel racing, but you've got to put this on your bucket list. This was absolutely a hoot.
I saw it when it was actually a thing, like when they were new.
Yeah. Well, it's becoming a thing again, especially here, like in this
Yes.
middle part of America.
Yeah.
Some of these races are dedicated entirely to just three-wheel racing, and they get these huge grids. I mean, I have to admit,
Yeah.
there's very few things that take me by surprise. This just threw me for a loop. I had no idea this was a thing, and it was excellent. It was super good time. It's incredibly dangerous. It throws up a ton of dirt. It's a hoot, and I loved it. So that's the first thing I'm grateful for is two-stroke three-wheelers. I was real grateful for seeing that this year. And then the next this slide coming up is going to be another dirt race I had the good fortune of going to, and that's in Lima, Ohio, which is right up the street from you. A super iconic pea gravel flat track. And there was a race event there that I announced this past spring, and it was just so rad to be back again with the race family and again just people again in this motorcycling community. And then a couple of pros came out. Henry Wiles is in this picture right now, who is an American flat track racing pro. He raced this past year in the single class. So just being at this historical track, this historical place, and getting the chance to see awesome racing and then also be a part of it in a small way and announce it, I am super grateful for that. And then my next slide coming up is going to be, let's see, what else? What's number three? Oh, so the third thing I'm grateful for this year, I think Ashley's got the number three slide coming up in just a second. That's right. That would be me working on my transmission of my Dodge van. How could you be grateful for that? I'm just gonna say it taught me patience. It taught me patience, Josh. So I'm grateful for that
Yeah,
lesson in
those
humility.
it's so funny because I remember talking about this all year, and you're like, well, I'm going to do this next, and then I'm going to do
Yeah.
this next, and then I'm going to do this next. And I'm like, and to me, I mean, the I'm going to do this next would have been lighted on fire.
Yeah.
But you persevered through that. That was impressive.
Yeah, it definitely was a very humbling experience. I definitely understand now why transmission experts get the money that they do. At the end of the day, I ended up just flat out swapping transmissions from a different vehicle because I just couldn't even handle it anymore. But I am grateful for the experience. I'm grateful I learned a whole lot about transmissions that I never knew I needed to know. I'm grateful for that. It was kind of fun and weird and exciting. And, sometimes you got to just face challenges head on. So I'm grateful for that. So for my next slide coming up is going to be another event that I had the good fortune of going to this past spring called the Get On Motofest. And this just reaffirmed how desperately I need and how grateful I am for old Goldwing. I love old Goldwing, Josh. I am not afraid to admit it. I love these huge land barges with cup holders and microwaves and heated grips and I mean everything on. I love it. The more like weird stuff painted on them, the more fake wood trim on them, the more I love it. I am hands down a gold hard addict now, or Goldwing addict, and I have to have one. And there was literally like three or four of these this generation, like
Yeah.
mid 1980s gold wings, show up at this event called the Get On Motofest down in Texas, and they came from all over the place, and they bought these bikes for like $1,200 and ride them across America, and I was like, I see you,
That is
Captain Goldwing. I am ready to get on board. So
that
that's
is
what
the
I am grateful
amazing thing
for.
with those is you will
Yeah.
always whenever you find a Goldwing, you are going to find especially of that age, it is going to have 1,200 miles on it, or it is going to have 120,000 on it. You're
Yes.
never going to
Yeah.
find one in between, because it's the guy
No.
that bought it and stuck it in his he rode it 3 times and stuck it in his garage, or it's the
Yep.
guy that bought it and stuck his car in the garage and never
Yeah.
never took his car out again. Those are the only two Goldwings that you're ever going to see. Those are great bikes. There's a reason why
Yeah.
Honda sold so many of them. I can see why you love them. I'm not going to
Yeah.
paint much into mine because I just want to go out and chew up miles, but I get it.
There's just something so satisfying about a $1,200 machine that weighs, 800 some odd pounds and has cup holders and all sorts of shenanigans on it. And it still
Yep.
runs and rides great today. It'll take you across America. Millions and millions of 70-year-old guys and gals can't be wrong, right? So I'm believing in the Goldwing now, and I'm ready to take on the challenge. And that's hopefully going to be one of my projects going into the next year, is picking up an old Goldwing.
I thought you said I was the old one.
I look
I'm
amazing
just
for 70 though, right? Like I look
I'm
really
just
good for
throwing it out
70.
there. Yeah, no, you don't look a day over 68.
I'm thankful for you,
Right.
buddy. I'm thankful for you being in Ohio, away
Yes.
from me. Okay, and my next slide
Yes.
is going to be the next thing that I'm grateful for is at that same event, the Get On Motofest in Dallas, which again was awesome because it was just full of motorcycling family. And like we've already mentioned a couple of times, I love the bikes. Bikes are cool. Goldwings are cool. But it's the people. It's the people that really make it. But that being said, people schmeeple, because this is the moment I won a free bike at the Get On Moto Fest, and I am super grateful for that. I ended up buying a bunch of raffle tickets, and sure enough, the last hour of the last day of this event, I ended up, my buddy pulled the raffle tickets, and she pulled one out, and it had my number on it, and I took home a brand spanking new Super 73 e-bike. So again, motorcycle people are cool, but sometimes bikes are even cooler.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I was about to say I agree with you, and it's the community that we have.
Yeah.
But there's a reason why it's the reason why I'm a big advocate for helmets. Is that way I feel like I'm in my own little world there. And
Yeah.
yes, I'm away from people and I'm on my bike. I get it.
But no, I'm super pumped and super grateful for that. And that e-bike is super awesome. And I'm a huge lover of e-bikes, and this is what totally turned me onto a hook, line, and sinker, was this little Super 73. So next thing that I am grateful for, is the fact that this season I also was picked up to do some announcing and work with a vintage race series called AHRMA. And I don't know if you're familiar with AHRMA, Josh. I think that you are. It's American Historical
Yes.
Racing Motorcycle Association. They do dirt racing, they do woods racing, they do some flat track racing, they do all sorts of racing and road racing. And I was able to jump in and do some announcing, and commentary for the road racing part of the program, which I personally have been following AHRMA for 15 years now. So it was a really full circle moment for me, and I'm very, very grateful that they decided to bring me on board and have me become a member of their family officially this past season. And I'll be doing some work with them in 2022, which I'm really excited about. And then the next slide, and that picture is from Heartland in Kansas. And I'm just giving the thumbs up, overseeing the paddock and overseeing some of the guys and gals that participate in the road racing. The next slide. I also got to meet and hang out with my buddy, a Hall of Famer and American motorcycling race legend, Mr. David Aldana, who you have had the chance to meet with me at Mid
Yes.
Ohio this season. Josh, another moment that I'm very grateful for. But earlier, a month before you and I went and tracked him down at Mid Ohio, I saw him at Heartland, which was really great. And I'm very, very grateful for that. I'm grateful again for these bikes. I'm grateful for these awesome opportunities, and I'm grateful to be able
Yeah.
to call some of these folks that have been in racing and in motorcycling for so long and have such incredible stories. I'm grateful to call them friends. And I know I was stoked that you had the chance to meet David also,
For
and we did a
sure.
quick interview. I haven't seen the outtakes from that video, but we just laughed so hard. I had the best
Yeah.
time talking to him for like 10 or 15 minutes, and I
And
hope
he's
you did too.
hilarious. Oh, for
Yeah,
sure. I mean, meeting him, I mean, he is one of those people that just is pleasant, but such a character. I mean, always has that wise little quip to pull out that's just going to poke at you a little bit. Just what a great guy, and I mean, like you said, the stories that someone like him has to pass on, are great. I mean, because he did it all.
yeah,
So yeah, just what a. I mean, and it's different times. I mean, there was no race semis back then. It was all done in a van. Is so. I mean, some of those things are just so cool. I mean, yeah, just neat guy to meet. Once again, grateful for that also.
yeah, for sure. So I was awesome, and I'm super grateful to see him. And then my next slide coming up is going to be the chance that, oh, look at that, Josh. That's me at Babcock Studio
I,
shooting for
I was
Motorcycle
about
and
to say I know
Powersports
that place.
News. You should know that place.
I
So I'm
I know that
super
place.
grateful. I'm super grateful for the chance to jump in with Motorcycle and Powersports News MPN and start doing some live streams and live shows here with you, Josh, as well as doing some recorded stuff. The crew has come out with me. We've been to several just incredible locations, shooting bikes, shooting interviews, shooting behind the
Yeah.
scenes, meeting all sorts of fascinating people, some custom bike stuff, some historical stuff, some super modern, iconic type stuff that's going to be coming up. Again, there's a great shot of us shooting at the Crawford Auto and Aviation Museum. We had an excellent day there. The curator there, or I should say he's like the marketing director, marketing manager, a gentleman named John at the Crawford Auto and Aviation Museum in Cleveland, was a hoot. We just laughed and told stories and talked motorcycles all day long. It was one of the best days I've had in a really long time, and it's all thanks to the folks in the team, really, including the folks running this broadcast right now, Ashley and Patrick in the booth. We couldn't do it without this team behind us, Josh, right? So I just am super
Agreed.
grateful for all of these talented folks who jump in and hopefully make you and I look and sound good.
It's you know what, and it's the same thing for me with Project X. I mean, that project was a ton of fun, and the fact that we just got done putting that together, the way it turned out, it looks amazing. It's that we get to work. I mean, it's work, but this is pretty fun.
Yeah, yeah. It's no, you and I are in general very lucky that we get to talk about
Yes,
something that we're passionate and that we love. I
agreed.
really love your show, your Project X show, because it gets more into technical bits, and I really
Right.
dig on that stuff too. So I think altogether, between all of the people at MPN at Babcock's, we're going to be able to make this really fleshed out program of all sorts of different content. Speaking of, I think my next slide
Agreed.
is another great location shot. So look at how cool this is, Josh. So this is Matt Waxler, who is the current director at Wheels Through Time. His dad, Dale Waxler, started this museum in Maggie Valley, North Carolina years ago. He unfortunately passed away just this past year. His son, Matt, though, is the chip off the old block. He is just as friendly, pleasant, knowledgeable, and would fire up any bike that I wanted to see, which was really special because some of these things did
Wow.
require a little bit of love to get them to kick over because these are all like 100-year-old bikes. Anyway, that is an ultra rare Crocker V twin that he started for us on camera. It's the meanest sounding bike you've
Wow.
heard probably in a long time. And it's all on camera, it's all on video here at MPN. We're going to be rolling out that series here, hopefully in short order. We'll get them all edited and put together. And I cannot wait to share them with everybody out here that follows the MPN pages. But we had just a special day there. I think even the next slide is a picture of me sitting on one of Matt Waxler's own bikes. Again, there's I think there's 200 or some odd bikes in the entire collection, but this is one of his personal bikes that he put together years ago for as a basket case to be a daily rider. And he let me just climb aboard and kind of get the feel of it for a little bit. And I have to admit, I'm hooked, man. I've got to have like a knucklehead or a flathead at some point. You know, the Goldwing is on the list, but I've got to have an early Harley too, Josh. I'm just totally hooked.
I get it. What's so funny about that is some of those old bikes are just so neat. It's the time capsule. I remember, I mean, and this is 20 years ago, I had a Kawasaki H1. And when I got on that thing, I felt like 1972. It just takes you back to a simpler time. Even though everything's modern around you, you're like, this is, I mean, you're waiting for Andy Griffith to come out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's just something. It's this return to a simpler motorcycling experience
Yep.
that I think comes through on riding some of these vintage and antique bikes. As you mentioned to me, the thing I love about them also is that the design of motorcycles from all these different eras literally reflect what's going on globally in the history of the world through their design. If you think about it, honestly, that is how it's working out, you know. The H1 is going to be the beginning of this chase for high horsepower, the beginning of super bikes, the beginning of super sport bikes. And it looks like it.
Yeah.
It feels like it. It's got all this crazy high horsepower handling, schmandling, but it goes really, really fast in a
Yeah.
straight line.
That was one of the things that I always found amazing about it. It was probably about 70 horsepower with the way I had it set up. And it had a single disc in the front with one piston, and it was drum rear. The frame felt like it may as well have had a hinge in the center of it. And that's, I mean, I've been on 200 horsepower bikes, and they weren't nearly as scary as this one.
Yeah, yeah. So the last couple of things that I am super grateful for is this past year, I also have had the good chance to ride a ton and work with the folks at BMW helping launch and spread the message of this R18 motorcycle, which is their more new retro classic. Just a great bike, huge 1800cc twin cylinder horizontally opposed boxer engine. So it speaks to, you know, my love of my boxer bikes. I am a bit of a BMW nerd and I've got a couple of Beamers. So I just love that I was able to be a part of that. And again, it also led me to meet all sorts of awesome people in the BMW community because while the bikes are really cool, it really is about the people. And last but certainly not least is a great shot of me surrounded by a bunch of people doing what I do. Super grateful for all of these experiences from 2021, whether it's talking on camera with you or just talking on camera and interviewing people with MPN or doing live interviews or doing live race announcing. I just love that this community I get to be a part of. I get to be genuinely who I am. I get to be excited about motorcycles every single day and hopefully spread that and turn people on to something new out here in motorcycling. And for that, I am super, super grateful.
It's funny. I mean, obviously we have that common theme. So maybe we've got two things that we have in common now besides the love of the electric bikes is we are both very
And
grateful
Goldwing.
for the community. Yeah, well, okay, two and a half. Because you want to mural yours and put all the lights on it. I just want to go out and chew up miles. So you'd be happy cruising around town with your Goldwing. I put me out there.
Yeah.
Is
If it doesn't have a
totally
wizard and
different.
a wolf on it, I don't want it. I don't want it. It's got to have
Right,
a wizard
right.
wolf and some sort of like wood paneling on it. I'm not into it.
It should look well. That'll bring us to our third thing. We're both fans of vans, so your Goldwing should look like a '70s van.
Like, you are right on the money, my friend. You are right on the money. That's
Yeah,
exactly what that bike needs to look like. And it needs to
love
get
it.
about as good gas mileage.
Correct. Well, it's a 1.6 liter, so yes,
I mean, it's basically a car engine shoehorned into a bike, my friend. But with that,
agreed.
that is what I am grateful for. I am grateful for car engines shoehorned into motorcycles. I am grateful for three-wheel two-stroke engines. I'm grateful for e-bikes, and I'm grateful to be a part of this awesome motorcycling and power sports community. And Josh, sometimes I'm even grateful for you.
Likewise, I mean it depends on the day. is it's funny when people say we're like brother and sister, because we are. I am thankful for you, but there are times when I want to run and tell mommy that you did something wrong.
And with that, my friend, I'm not going to tell anybody that you did something wrong. I'm going to tell you what we are doing right, and that is next week. Another awesome show is going to be coming your way because, Josh,
Correct.
it's AHRMA time. AHRMA is the largest
Correct.
motorcycling trade show in the world, and they're going to be hosting all sorts of launches, premieres, prototypes, custom bikes, all sorts of rad stuff. The AHRMA show begins tomorrow and it runs all through the rest of the week. So that means next week's show is going to be dedicated to all of the awesome sights and sounds going on in Milan, in at the AHRMA show. So make sure you hit notifications on and subscribe to our channel. You are not going to want to miss it. Thank you so much, Josh. I'm thankful for you. Have an awesome Thanksgiving, everybody, no matter where you are out there in the world.